Hi YouTube, this is my next Ipotane video. This one will cover how I create a walk cycle for this character, and mostly I'll just let it run and add some comments in as we go. So I start off by creating the first pose, which I will use to create all the other poses for the walk cycle. And this one was the most important pose in the entire process, because if you get this one right, the rest can be duplicated and flipped to make it go a lot faster and to make the animation be able to be a loop. So you want to start off with a like mid stride pose, and not a pose where the legs are closer together, because it's a lot easier to make the in-between frames if you can start with the legs spread further out. And then here you can see I made extra keyframes in the middle, and all I did was made a keyframe at the beginning with my original pose, copied it to the end of the timeline for the length that I wanted, and then I duplicated either the end or the first frame, it doesn't matter, and copied it into the middle and flipped it. And what that does is it just makes basically the legs switch directions like they would when you're walking. Throughout this video, I played it back a lot. It's a very iterative process, so you have to check constantly to see if it looks right. But at this point, I was trying to find some good frames in between the three main frames that I could use to modify how the walking looks. So I think here I was pretty happy with it. I moved the foot up higher while it was coming forward, and it just makes the walking a little more expressive, and then it doesn't look like the legs are kind of like sliding just flat on the ground. And the approach I used to decide what to work on next was from the bottom up. So I basically started with her feet, and then added some hip motion in, and then as you can see here, I'm adding in some shoulder movement, and I haven't really touched the arms yet. All right, so now I'm moving the arms, positioning the hands. Here I'm just stretching the timeline out so that the frame rate was a little easier to understand when I was playing it back. Okay, so now you can see I decided to make the arms a little more expressive by moving the hands further away from the center. And then I also rotated the hands so that the thumbs face inward when they're at the front of her body, and the thumbs face outward when they're at the back of her body. And here you can see where I drop her hips down so that every time a foot lands, the hips should bob up and down slightly. And then here, just copying and flipping the intermediate frames, not the main frames. All right, so here's a more real-time preview. And here I'm just watching to see what else I can tune, and if you can get the timing to somewhat match your final render, it's really easy to see if it looks close to correct or not. Also, one other note, the hair particles at this point were not enabled with physics, and I had been trying to get them to work in a separate file, and at the end of this workflow I decided just to turn them on and see if I could get it to work. So the final render is coming up here, and you can actually see the effects that the hair physics make on it. All right, so here's the final one. Hope you found this interesting. I'll have a lot more animation videos coming soon.